Okay, watch out, welcome back. Right, today pigtails. This is something that I just want to talk about. These are pigtails. These things that you connect to your battery to connect your battery tender to, or your Optimate, whatever it is you use to charge your battery. Start at the beginning. Harley Davidsons have a security system that draws quite a lot from the battery all of the time. And if it's left unchecked and you don't ride the bike very much, the battery, it's kind of a self-cancelling thing. The security system itself gradually drags the battery down until it's completely flat, and that's no good. Most Harleys do get used, but there are many that don't. They don't get used more than once a week, so that whole week sitting in the garage while you're at work waiting for you to come and play, and at the weekend the battery goes flat. So Harley Davidson generally supply with your bike a pigtail, and all it is one of these. It's the other end of your battery minder. It's the bit that you plug your battery minder into that connects to the battery. Ever so easy, comes with 2 ring tabs, and in the past I've made a couple of videos on how to replace the battery. Now, replacing the battery on a Sportster, it isn't difficult, but it is a bit of a tricky thing to get the battery right out. You've got to get to that inside terminal, and that is really, really hard because the terminal's kind of too short. I think the bike's assembled in a different order. It seems the battery goes in before the engine goes in, and it's just trying to get that out, get that lead in, get it connected to that pigtail, and then slide it all back in so it fits. It's just a nightmare. There's a far easier way, and I'm only doing this video purely because I saw on the net, on one of the Harley forums, a whole thread that kicked off talking about whether or not you have to connect your pigtail to the battery terminals, or whether you can connect it to the earth on the motor. Come in, Pen, I'll show you something. On all the Harley Sportsters, when you take off, this is your live side, ever so easy to access, right there, very simple. But down here, if you can see over the top, there's a battery earth, or a terminal. That's an earth terminal on the motor. Now what that actually does, if you look at it, it's got a big fat 12mm lead, and it connects the earth between the motor and the chassis. That's what it is. All all vehicles, period, right up to a truck, a train, whatever it might be, they have to earth the motor to the chassis so that the whole thing works as one. So that there is your earth between the motor and the frame, and it's a fantastic earth, obviously. So you can use that, you really can. Some people say, oh no, it must go on the battery if it's going to charge the battery. No, it doesn't. It can go right there. If you know how to jump start a vehicle, when you jump start a car, you do not connect the jump leads to the battery. That is the incorrect way to do it. That will damage the battery. You connect to the live of the battery and to the earth on the car. That's how it works. Well, that's exactly the way you connect your battery minder. So here's how it is. First thing we do, we're going to connect the live first, and then we're going to earth it second. So you don't have to faff about going to the trouble of disconnecting your power supply. Normally the way you disconnect the power supply on one of these is you turn the ignition on. With the ignition on and the bike ready to thumb the starter, pull the main fuse. When you pull the main fuse, you blind the bike. You blind the alarm system. Boom, it doesn't know what's going on. Everything's dead. Nothing works. Leave the ignition on. That's what you do. And the main fuse lives inside here. We've done that in the past on the battery replacement. You don't have to do that today. Not if you're clever. We do. Take that off. That's your 10mm. Yes, it's metric. Bolt. This is the main fuse here. This is the main lead. Do not let it break contact with the battery. Take out the bolt. You just have to be careful with this and have your earplugs in just in case. Now that's still touching. Still touching. Still touching. Don't let that break contact. If that breaks contact, your alarm will go off. Right? And your ears will split. You will have a headache. Then all you do is connect that, slip that under there whilst maintaining the connection. It is that easy. Just slip that in. You see.
Yep.
There we are. And whilst holding that connected, do not let it break contact. Do the bolt up. And there it is, job done. You haven't had to mess about with your fuse or your anything. Once that's done up, just take your 10mm spanner and put a few foot-pounds on that. With all respect, folks, do not over tighten this because you'll shred the battery. The battery itself is what's threaded here. That metal block is threaded, and if you break or strip that thread because you've been a monkey boy and you leant on it, then you have to replace the battery. Or kind of thread it out, put bigger bolts in, and if you put a bigger bolt in, all these ring tab terminals will be too small, so you've got to drill on. In there, in there, clean the bike with a t-shirt. It's not funny, so just don't do it. There, that's all it needs. Just that's it. So that's done up. We've now connected the live. And make sure that where you place this, it's a nice, always do a nice install if you can. Right, there's all your main fuses there. I'm going to tuck the little pigtail fuse itself. Hang on, just come around that way. I'll tuck that in neatly under there. And I'm going to cable tie that to there in a second. So that goes like that. We'll just make a neat job of that, and then we can move on. Right, going to make a nice install now. Penny ordered me some cable ties. I said, get me some cable ties, I just need a few. 400 turn up.
You can never have enough.
Absolutely, that is right. You can never have enough cable ties. Especially if you run a rat bike.
Thought I'd treat you.
Thank you. My cup runneth over. Right, let's get this in. So all I'm going to do there, just make a nice install. It's your bike. Make a nice job of it. Come in there. Pass that behind the main lead. This is the main power lead to the starter. And it's inside this conduit, so it's quite safe. Pop it back in its little track. That in neatly in there. There. Doesn't take long to make a nice install on things. Actually, if you put it the right way around, it works as well. Monkey boy. Right, there we go. That's it. A neat cable tie in there. How's that? Look at that, eh? Factory finish. Pair of cutters. Snip the worst off. There we go. Right. Now that side of it, ready to plug in, just got to connect the earth. So again, it's not 10. Right, you go back to imperial on this, 1/2 inch. Just undo that. Don't drop that nut down, because it really will not come back. It disappears down the back of the gearbox. So, little nut with its attached shakeproof washer, all in one lump. Probably so you don't lose it down the back of the engine. And that will just go, I'm going to tuck that up inside there.
Ow.
Mind the handlebar. And does that make sense? Can you see that?
Yep.
I'm going to tab that straight on there. Nice and discreet out of the way. I know my fingers and mushes are in the way here, so I'll just do that up and then you can see in a minute.
You get the idea.
You get the idea, right. So just to dispel that myth really, here we go again, Delboy's Garage, myth busting. I had read, and I don't know why, the Harley forums generally tend to be full of people who know what they're talking about. I read loads of fun things. I've actually learned quite a lot from Harley forums because they're Harley owners, they've been there, done it, and they do share their knowledge, which is fantastic. So I read on there does seem to be, or I have seen, there seems to be a debate about this, whether or not you can connect your battery minder terminal to the engine earth. Yes, you can. And again, don't lean on this because that bolt comes internally from the inside of the primary case. If you strip it, you have to replace it, which means stripping off all the primary case. So best not to. Here we are, it's got a shakeproof washer on it, won't go anywhere. There will be a torque setting in your Harley Davidson manual, which I know you've bought. And what I'm going to do with those is route those in a place so that they're not that long and they fit behind the cable tie. So I'm going to have a little fiddle and push those in place and clip them up. And it's time to put the side panel on. There we are. And you know you've done a good install when you physically can't see it. It's all gone, it's all disappeared. And there it is, just the head itself to connect to. And when I'm not connecting to it, it will just get tucked up there under the tank, out of the way, rather than sticking out the side panel, flapping about. Right, now the final thing's really, really important on this. Cable tie your side panels on. On these, there are no screws that hold them on whatsoever. These go back to almost like your old Z900 side panels from the 70s, which used to blow away in the wind, and people used to put a drill hole in the top and cable tie them to the frame just to keep them, especially when they started getting expensive to replace. So your side panel goes on, you've got a little slot in the bottom, goes on a rubber peg or a plastic peg underneath, and then it goes into these remarkably odd clips here, which seem to, I don't quite understand how they work, but they seem to just snap those in there. Now this side panel, obviously everything goes neatly out of the way, put the side panel in, and then that snaps into place. That's how they're fitted from the factory, and that's how I got it. But also fitted here, or sorry, supplied here. Come in, Pen, you can see this. There's a little slot in the frame and a little slot in the side panel, and you can see obviously what is the coolest thing in the world to put in there is just get a cable tie, another cable tie, which is great. And obviously make sure that once that's connected, nothing's pressing or stressing, nothing's rubbing on the metal edges here, it's all tucked neatly inside, and then you put your cable tie and zip it up and it's safe. Let's get a cable tie. We need a big one for that. Use one of the big ones. Right.
Rebel.
Great to have. Oh no, I just don't care, me. There it goes. And that's it. There it is. Don't have to be too tight, just enough so that it's not going to come off. And that will save you £100 for a side panel. And there it is, ready to go. All you got to do when you're ready is then take your battery, the other half of your battery tender, just plug it in and it'll keep it from going flat. It will double, treble the life of your battery or more. It's money well spent. When you buy a new Harley, these things come fitted to the bike, and that's where they fit them. They bolt them onto that earth strap on the motor. It's a perfectly correct and okay way to do it. It works very well. If you don't have one fitted, then that's how you fit it. It's as easy as that. Honestly, even she could do it. Anybody else, Ben?
I could. That's it.
There we go.
Easy.
Battery, pigtail, easy to fit. Take it easy, ride safe. See you next time.
ET41, baby, that's for me. M-O-O-N-F-L-E, ET41, baby, that's for me. Yeah, dear. Devil's gonna ride, yeah, yeah, yeah. Devil's